Hey, welcome back, Bottle Killers. This is another episode of Bottle Kill TV. As always, it's your host, Michael Roche. And with me, as always, we have the often imitated, never duplicated. It's the real Bottle Killer. Ladies and gentlemen, how the hell are you?
Doing good, thanks, Michael. Looking forward to this one. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, burn, baby, burn.
Oh, yeah.
Disco Inferno. We have Octomore today, which is... Octomore's one that has a cult following, right?
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, people love the Octomore releases when they come each year, and it always seems like there's a game of like, can we beat the PPM? You know how just how PT can we get? And Octomore seems to be leading the charge on that. I know this is 307 PPM.
Yeah, 307.2.
Which is that the most ever?
Second most. So there was the Octomore 8.3, which was 309 ppm. So yeah, this is the second most heavily peated whiskey that has ever been made.
Because I remember when Ardbeg did the Supernova, and
Yep.
people were going wild because I think it's 110 ppm.
Crazy.
Incredibly tasty whiskey. Supernova was a beautiful whiskey, and then they did the Hypernova.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the Hypernova was?
Can't remember the ppm on it. Yeah.
170.
Okay.
And that was like the peatiest Ardbeg ever. And
Yeah.
they really made a big deal about how much ppm was in that.
Mhm.
But then we've got almost another like 50%.
Yeah. Yeah.
45% on top of it. So it is really. I'm a little scared, to be honest.
Yeah, it's Octomore's always such an interesting one. I started trying Octomore quite a few years back, and I think I was a little bit worried whether it was all just gimmicky and hype, with the extra high ppm. And also, I think the flip side to that as well is like, am I literally just going to be tasting fire and smoke and there's no flavors to it? But what I do love about Octomore is that despite the level of ppm that you often get, and we're going to experience that today with this 307, you get a lot of flavors as well that it probably shouldn't have. So it's really interesting stuff.
Well, it's an integrity whiskey, so it's young. So I believe Octomore is 5 years old, right?
Yeah, typically, yeah.
So it's typically about 5 years old, but they use all Isla barley for it, right?
Yeah, Octomore farm barley, yeah.
They have their own little farm where
yeah.
they get it from. So it's integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And they do seem to want to be doing something that is a little bit challenging, a little bit different. So it's and Bruichladdich, we had them number one in our Isla rankings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because they produce bangers. They really do care.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see what it's got. So just tell me off the nose. Take us away.
Well, I mean, unmistakably the smoke is there, isn't
Wow,
it? It's
let's
that
jump up.
burnt barbecue kind of smoke, lots of charcoal.
That's almost like when you've just blown out a candle.
Yeah.
That smell.
I like that. That's good. The end of the wick whiskey kind of smoke.
Yeah.
But just a little more about the whiskey while we sort of take that one in and what we're experiencing. So this is the 15.3. It's 5 years old. It's bottled at 61.3%. And as we've already said, it's 307.2 ppm. So the second most peated whiskey that's been released. So aside from obviously the strength of the peat level, you've got a really high strength alcohol here as well. So I'm expecting it to be
So what was it again? The alcohol?
61.3%.
Oh, fucking hell.
So I'm expecting it to be a challenging whiskey. And then it's a combination of bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks. So that's what you tend to get with the 0.3s. They're in these lovely frosted glass bottles. You see it's got a lovely colour to it, just on the back there. So yeah,
it's very strong, but it's actually very sort of like, what's the word, like porous?
Porous.
Or it's kind of like that. There's like it seeps into your tongue. It's not like it doesn't just come in like that. We have that sort of phrase like the napalm in the morning when something just hits it and you're not expecting it. It's actually not too difficult to drink in that strength, but you feel the strength, and that some ways is maybe I think it probably I put a bit of water in it because it's probably not lending itself to give enough character because it is very strong.
Yeah, but
it's not like reactive strong. Do you get what I'm saying?
It's very interesting.
Because sometimes you put it in and it just sets fire to your mouth.
Yeah,
this isn't setting fire to my mouth.
Yeah, it's a bit of an enigma because it's not. I mean, the smoke is there and very dominant, but I think it's so well crafted that it's enjoyable at the same time. And I see this, just having had the first sip, as a meaty, barbecuey style of peat, like charcoal, briquettes, heavy smoke, but it's got a nice nuttiness to it as well, and fruitiness as well that's coming through, some nice kind of honeyed notes, almost like, drizzling some honey on some smoked meats and getting that sweetness and the contrast with the smoke.
We kind of got two different smokes in it. So the first smoke is kind of like, do you remember before the smoking ban? A long time ago now, but before the smoking ban in pubs, you kind of got that type of smoke where it's like, secondhand smoke where the pub was just full of smoke. That's kind of the first smoke you get in the mouth. And then the second, then on more of the end, that's when you're getting more of the campfire smoke.
Yeah.
The burnt campfire, the coals are already burnt.
Yeah, definitely.
Type of thing.
Lovely, lovely kind of campfire smoke to it as well. Honey, apricots. As I say, that kind of nuttiness I'm getting. Just going back in for another little.
Yeah, I'm not getting more of the sweeter flavors, but I'm getting the more nutty flavors on it. But this is, it's really interesting because, as we've talked about our journey this year, it was kind of like from me and Peat Monsters to bourbon, single, like quite simple bourbon casks, to then sherried whiskies. This reminds me that there's something in my tongue and my palate that really just enjoys peat.
Yeah.
And I try and escape it. It's like the Marks and Spencers when we had the Kilhoman recently. I just have a natural affection for peaty whiskey.
Yeah, it keeps dragging you back, doesn't it? I love it. Like I can't get enough. This is very enjoyable. Like the finish is incredibly long as well, and it gives that ginger, fresh ginger that gives that like fizzle on your tongue. Yeah. Like it just goes on and on and on, and you're still getting that smoke coming through in that finish. Like it's powerful, very powerful.
Well, that's it, and I wouldn't necessarily. It has the same. It has the same sort of like viscosity as like a luxury whiskey or a luxury feeling whiskey, but it is really long in the taste, isn't it? It's like it's still there. Like the lastingness. Like some whiskeys are a bit of a flash in the pan. You put it in and it, you drink it and it's gone. Yeah, it's just gone. It just flies away. This one is sits there. It literally camps, sets up his tent, puts on the fire, and everyone come on round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I probably finished that 20, 30 seconds ago, and I can still feel the smoke, the fizziness, like the fiery kind of ginger just tingling away on the taste buds.
Actually, doesn't need water either for me.
I just put a few drops in just to see what it's like with the water, whether it opens any more flavors up.
I put a little bit in, but that was fine without. But it was very Moorish without.
Definitely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? That if your palate naturally craves that kind of flavor, the peat, the heavily peated profile, it's almost like if you like chili, it gets addictive. You want spicy food. You want to go like, oh, I've had a Madras, like I'm going to go and give a Vindaloo a try. And I think with peat, like if you're a peat head, you're constantly chasing that, like, what's the top level, like, and that's what Octomore brings, right? To be able to experience the highest levels of peat and just know what does that taste like in your mouth, like how does that feel when you're drinking it.
So I was wrong. Actually, the water is actually then now brought out the sweetness.
It does soften it, yeah.
So now I'm getting more of the apricots
fruits, yeah.
and more of those sweet. It actually, it's delicious with the water. So it's very Moorish and very like you could drink without water, but then if you like the sweeterness with the peat and the sweetened peat. People put these like flavor profiles together they got a huge fan base. Sweet and peat. This is like a ultimate sweet and peat.
Yeah, the water does bring more of that sweetness out on the nose and on the palate as well. And because it's 61.3%, like you can afford to put a few drops of water in it. It's not taken away. It's not like, oh, I've put some water in it, now it's gone weak. Like the smoke is still there. It just probably isn't as smack you in the face. It just softens it, takes the edge off a little bit. I think maybe makes it slightly more enjoyable, more approachable with the drops of water. But
I don't think you'd get that far if you didn't enjoy it though. If you didn't enjoy peat already. I don't actually think you need to be that much of a peat monster to handle that one, because it's just so well integrated. Let's go straight to the question. We're trying to keep these episodes a little bit tighter, a little bit shorter.
Short and
We've
sweet.
done a lot of them that are 25, 30 minutes. I don't think they're too rambly, but just sometimes it's a bit overwhelming to sit down for 30 minutes on one episode, isn't it? So what we'll do is, just tell me, Bottle Killer, is it a buy?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I mean, I think to be able to own one of the most peated whiskies is something that I always wanted to do. And whilst they're expensive to buy Octomore, they last
£195, right?
£195. Yeah, they last a long time. It's not one that you're not just pulling out a 307 ppm whiskey on like a Tuesday night just because you fancy a dram. So they're worthwhile. It's expensive, but if you're a peat head, you like that kind of thing, and it's a really good whiskey. Like the flavors are great. It delivers. It's not dominated too much by the smoke. You get a lot of sweetness, complexity. So yeah, for me, absolute buy.
Yeah. So if you care about the craft of whiskey making, and you care about Islay whiskey, you're a fan of Islay whiskey, this is something really, really special. And I have not tried too many Octomores before. I know I was a big fan of the Hypernova.
Yep.
The Ardbeg did, but yeah, I think it's incredibly well crafted whiskey, incredible release. Octomore 15.3 is a buy.
Yeah, they're interesting, especially these sherry ones. Like the first time that I got one of these, it was for my birthday because I love that frosted glass bottle, and it's just something that, again, it looks good on the shelf, and I always wanted to own a bottle in that style. But I think I've had a few Octomores, and I actually really enjoy just the straight up bourbon cask ones. They're incredible, so that's something that is worth looking out for as well. I think the 14.1, 15.1 straight bourbon cask, they're lovely whiskies too.
Love it. Alrighty. Well, I was going to say Bottle Killer, take them out, but I think you already did.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks for joining us once again. I hope you had a good time. I've certainly had a good time. Michael, have you had a good time?
It's been Pete.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Bottle Kill TV. Okay, so as we always do on Bottle Kill TV, we've got a very short 2-minute review on the Octomore 15.3. Michael, why don't you tell us your thoughts on this whiskey?
This is a winner. This is a real winner. If you like peat, this is one of the best peated whiskies I've ever had.
Wow. Not
just one of the peatiest whiskey I've personally ever had, but it doesn't drink like the peatiest whiskey you've ever had.
Yeah.
It's very moreish, and it's way more than a 5-year-old whiskey. It kind of has way more quality than what you'd expect from a 5-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. It delivers in terms of flavour and complexity, probably in a way that it shouldn't, with it being 5 years old and peated to 307 ppm. But what you actually get is a lovely kind of journey through what is some very strong smoke, those kind of bonfire embers, charcoal, ashy, incredibly strong, intense smoke, but it's balanced with a lovely kind of sweetness, some nuttiness. So I get things like apricots, dried kind of nuts, spices. The finish is probably one of the longest finishes that I've experienced on a whiskey. Any whiskey that I've tasted, it goes on and on. It's got that lovely kind of fizziness of like freshly cut ginger just tingling on the tip of your tongue. Lovely, beautiful whiskey. Yeah,
Bruichladdich, top of their game right now. At the very least, if you see this in a whiskey bar, go have it.
Yeah,
go have it. If you've ever liked the peated whiskey, you like Islay whiskey, you've got to try this one. It's beautiful. Bruichladdich, top of the game. And if you can buy a bottle, these are more expensive in their range, but it's well worth it. Well worth it if you like to be a peat monster.
100%, and a few drops of water will open it up, make it lovely and sweet. It's a whiskey that if you're a peat head, you absolutely deserve to go and experience. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time on Bottle Kill TV. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and thanks once again.